right, guys. Quick reminders. Thursday is the end of the 6 weeks. So hopefully you turned in your journal test on Friday, and turned in your vocab and your homework. Those were both on Thursday, due on Friday. All right, so we are going to continue with volume, and we're going to start with on page 55. We're going to be on the left side. We're going to look at volume of cylinders. Volume of cylinders. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at given the radius. We're going to look at when we are given the radius, what a volume is going to be of a cylinder. All right. So we're going to start by drawing our first cylinder. So I'm going to draw an oval. I'm going to be taking up 3 lines. Bottom oval, connect the sides. Put a dot in the middle. It's going to go to, that's going to be a 5. This is going to be 7. Okay, so that's our first shape. Zoom in on it. Give you a minute to get that drawn if you need the time. All right, so we're going to be looking at finding the volume of cylinders. So we need to start first by shading our base. I'm going to shade my base. And I should shade 2 bases. Remember, cylinders fall into our category of prisms because they have 2 bases. They aren't technically a prism. We just say they fall into that category because they have the 2 bases. And for our purposes, that's exactly what we're looking for. All right, so our formula, we can use big BH, but our mathematics chart, we're going to use big BH, sorry. Double check to make sure. So we have B equals big BH. B equals big BH. So the shape of my base, so big B, is going to be the shape of my base. So area of the circle. Alright? So to find the area of a circle, it is pi r squared. Now, if you need to remind yourself of this, on page 52, we wrote down area formulas, and our circle's actually on the other side of that page. Okay, so we have pi, which is 3.14, and we have a radius, which is 5. So we're going to take care of that radius first. So 3.14 times 5 squared is 25. So 3.14 times 25, I'm going to use a calculator for that. I encourage you to because you're welcome to do it by hand anytime you want, but 3.14 times 25 is 78.5. So our big B equals 78.5. Go back to my volume. I'm going to do big B, which is 78.5, and my height connects my bases, so it is a 7. So 78.5 times 7 is 549.5. All right, so that is example number 1. We'll draw a line, and we're going to look at example number 2. So this time we're going to draw it sideways. So I'm going to put here, I'm going to do 2 ovals. And I'm going to connect them. This is going to be 10. And from the middle to the side is going to be 6. So those of you that don't have a paper copy of this, or are drawing this, all right, so we're going to do V equals big BH. so we're going to do the area of a circle again. So we're going to do pi r squared. So I'm going to do 3.14 times 6 squared. So my big B is going to equal 6 times 6 is 36. So 36 times 3.14 is 113.04. Sorry, we should have shaded our base at the beginning. I'm very sorry, I skipped that step. Go back and shade your bases if you haven't. Alright, and then my volume is going to be big B, which is 113.04, times my height. My height connects my bases, is 10. So my volume is 1,030.4. Alright, I'm going to draw a line under that. So same process as before. Alright, now we're going to look at some examples when we're given a diameter. So given the diameter, alright, so I'm going to draw an example. I'm going to do an oval, connected. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, you can see mine definitely aren't perfect. And this time, we're going to go all the way across because we're looking at a diameter. So that's going to be 8. And my height will be 5. So I'm going to have B equals big BH. Big B is going to be pi r squared because it is still a circular base. So let's shade in my two circular bases. So pi is 3.14. But was I given a radius? No, I was given a diameter equals 10, equals 8. The diameter equals 8. Sorry about that. The radius is half of that, so the radius will be 4. So I'm going to do 4 squared. 3.14 times 4 squared. 3.14. And 4 squared equals 16. Is 50.24. Go back to my volume formula. Plug in my big B. And my height, which connects my bases, is 5. So I'm going to multiply that times 5 to get a volume, 251.2. Alright. And that is example number 3. Alright, so I'm going to draw a line because we're going to look at another example. This will be example number 4. And again, we're going to look at it sideways because I'm trying to give you a good variety. I'm going to do an oval, connect the oval. The closer you can get those ovals to be in the same size, the better these look. Obviously, I do not do a good job at drawing them the same size. So that's going to be 19. I'm going to draw a line going across. That's going to be 14. I'm going to go ahead and shade in my bases. And then I'll give you a little bit to get that copied down if you need more time. Alright, so we're going to do V equals big BH. Alright, so let's work on our big B. It's a circle, so pi r squared. So 3.14. But this goes all the way across. So that's a diameter of 14. So I want you to think, what would my radius be? Hopefully you're thinking 7. So I'm going to do 7 squared. All right, so 7 squared is 49, so I'm going to do 3.14 times 49. And I get a big B, 153.86. All right, so I'm going to go back to my volume formula, which is big BH. I'm going to do 153.86 times my height, which remember my height connects my bases, of 19. So I'm going to multiply that times 19. And I get 2,923.34. Opposites. All right, so Matt's doing it when given a diameter. Tomorrow we're going to practice these. So now we're going to look at what we're going to do when we're given. We're going to now find the height. So we're just going to put find the height. And scroll this down a little bit. So this time we're going to be given some information, but we need to figure out the height. So this is going to be example number 5. We only have 2 more on this page if you're wondering about space. You notice I was writing pretty small at the top. Alright, so I'm going to draw a cylinder. So oval, oval, connect. And I'm going to draw a radius of 9. And I'm just going to mark my height with an H. And then it told us that we had a volume of 3,306.42. Okay, so this one's a little bit different. This is working a little bit backwards. So let's go to our volume formula, which is V equals big B H. My big B is a circle, so I'm going to shade my circles. I should be shading 2 things because it's a prism. And we get pi r squared. So 3.14 times 9 squared. So 3.14 and 9 squared is 81. So multiply those 2 together and I get 254.34. So I'm going to go back to my formula here. This time I have a volume. So in that volume spot, I'm going to put the volume. I have the big B now, 254.34, but I don't know the height. So we're going to have to go back to earlier in the year, and how do we solve for that variable? This is multiplication. The opposite is to divide. So we're going to divide both sides. These cancel, leaving me with just my H. And I'm going to take that 3,306 and 4,200 and divide it by 254.34, and I get a height of 13. So just working a little bit backwards this time around. Draw a line. One more example of this. And then we're going to look at a couple of a couple of cones. Alright, so we're going to draw this one sideways. I do like that we're doing some both directions. That way When you look back at this, you have it going sideways. I'll go ahead and lightly shade the base. And I'm going to draw a radius of 12. Mark my height with an H. And then we get a volume of 3,617.28. Alright, so let's start with that our volume is going to be V equals big BH, so I need to find that big B. So pi r squared, because it's a circle. So 3.14, it is a radius because it's only halfway. So I'm going to do 12 squared first. We always do our exponents first. 12 squared, which is 144, times 3.14 to get 452.16. Alright, so go back to my volume formula. Volume equals big BH, but I already have a volume. So I'm going to put that in my volume spot. Equals big B and then H. To get that H by itself, I divide both sides by 452.16. Cancels. So I'm going to take 3617.28 and divide it by our 452.16, and we get a height of 8. It's not always going to be a nice, pretty whole number, but for 8th grade, a lot of times it's going to be a decent number, decently easy number. All right, now let's look on, we're going to slide over to the other side of page 55. We don't have as much on this page. We have less, but still. We're going to title it Volume of Cones. We're only going to look at 3 examples. We're first going to write our formula, which is 1/3 big VH. And I want you to come over here to the side and draw part of a triangle. Let me zoom out. Let me scoot it over actually. And then you're going to do an oval. I'm going to do a dotted line straight down, and it's going to stop in the middle of that oval. That's my height. I'm going to go do a dotted line over. That's my R. We're only going to look at 3 of these. The first one, we're going to look at given the radius. So this is going to be example 1. So I'm going to draw a cone. The dotted line down the center to the middle of that square, and I'm going to show that that is 12. And I'm going to do over, and that's going to be 9. Okay, give me a minute to get that down. Alright, so we're going to start by shading the base. Here's our sharp point. Across from that point is going to be my base. I'll shade it lightly because I want to be able to see that dotted. So my formula is volume equals 1/3 big BH. I'm going to start with my big B. It's still a circle, so still pi r squared. So 3.14 times 9 squared. 9 squared is 81, so 81, sorry, my calculator turned off on me. 81 times 3.14 is 254.34. Alright, so I'm going to come back over here to my formula, which is volume equals 1/3 big B, which is 254.34, times my height. My height goes right down the middle, is 12. So I'm going to show you on our calculators that we use in school. Some of you have been in class and you've used these calculators before. Some of you have not, and I've had a couple of you who have stayed after school. So we're going to do 1/3. So I'm going to create a fraction. If you look right above this decimal, the divide, it's got a little fraction. I'm going to control the fraction. 1, go down to the 3. Then I'm going to hit the over button because I want it out of that fraction. I'm going to do times 254.34 times 12, which is 1,017.36. There's my volume. Now, let's say that, okay, I'm using a calculator that doesn't have that fraction button. What you can do is 254.34 times 12 equals, and then after you hit the equals, you can divide by 3, and it gives me the same thing. Sorry, there's a glare. Okay? Alright. Let's look at example 2, which example 2 is when I'm given the diameter. So I'm going to draw my picture. Shade my base lightly. This time I'm going to go all the way across because I have a diameter. I'm going to do a dotted line down the middle. That's my height. Give you a minute to get that down. Actually, I'm going to push it down just a little bit. There you go. Move it on up. Alright, so hopefully you've gotten that down. So volume equals 1/3 big BH. My base is still a triangle, so pi r squared. So I'm going to do 3.14 times my radius. Now this is a diameter. Radius is going to be half of that. So I'm going to do 5 squared. So I'm going to do 25 times 3.14, and I get 78.5. Go back to my volume formula. So I'm going to use 1/3 big B times my height. So times, sorry, my phone is going off. And I get a volume of 366.3 repeating. Alright, in our last example, we're going to look at a cone, and then we're going to be done with today's lesson. I know this is a long video. Is to find the height. So I'm going to draw my shape, draw my cone. Ooh, that is so horribly drawn. Sorry, I gotta fix that. That's so bad. I'm going to draw a dotted line down the center. And we're going to do it with a radius. So we'll have a radius of 6, a height of h. But I'm also going to give you that our volume is 414.48. Alright, so I'm going to start with my volume formula. It's 1/3 big BH because it's a cone. So big B is going to be pi r squared because it's still a circular base. So 3.14, I was given a radius, times 6 squared. 6 squared is 36, so 36 times 3.14 is 113.04. Go back, 1/3 times my base, and I don't know a height, but I do know a volume, so I'm going to erase that V. And I'm going to put in 414.48. Probably should have left myself a little more room there, huh? 414.48 equals. Alright, so this one's a little bit more because I actually need to do this first. So I'm going to keep my 414.48, not going to mess with it yet. And I'm going to do 113.04 times 1/3, which is the same as dividing it by 3. And I get 37.68 H. And then from there, I can divide both sides to get rid of that 37.68, which is going to leave my height all by itself, which is nice because that's what we wanted. You still are not feeling confident in solving for variables. It's one of those things you need to get good at because you're going to use it in a lot of math in the future. And so our height would be 11 there. Tomorrow we're going to do a video. We're going to have another video of us practicing these, and then you'll have questions to answer about it for a grade. End of the 6 weeks is Thursday, so please be sure you're getting everything turned into me by then. Y'all have a great Monday, and if you have any questions, send them my way.